In Our Circle Again by Sherry Woodbury. Here we are, in our circle again, a circle of vision and reflection, a forum for deciding and empowering. Here we are at the base of another bridge, another space spanning the shores of today and tomorrow, beckoning us to cross the chasm one day at a time. Here we are gathered again at the cusp of the future, at the boundary that holds community together. We are here in a circle of love and trust, brought to this moment by a series of choices and promises, by hope and gratitude, by our own shadows, faced and befriended. With a servant's heart, with a leader's listening, with a parent's love, truer than all our inner trembling, let us model the health we seek for all and lean into community. Somewhere out there, all we dream is possible. Somewhere in here, we are sowing the seeds.
Where are all the, oh my gosh, there's so many down here. Young people, young at heart people, anyone who wants to come forward, you can sit right here, and we have another opportunity now to come and sit here together. Good morning, Luca. Good morning. Good morning. Would anyone like to open the Luca, would you like to? Excellent. I know it's a little, oh, there you go. Oh, there you go. Thank you. You can sit down. Okay. What is this word? What is this word? LARP. What does that mean? Does anyone know what LARP means? What is it? Florp? Well, I heard there is a toy called Florp. Yes. Live action role playing. Look at that person with his little horse there that he's running around with his sword. Have you ever went past Donner Park or somewhere in your area, and there's people out there that look like they dropped in from the medieval era or something, and they're sword fighting with, have you ever seen that or heard about that? Oh, there's a Marvel thing, and on YouTube you might see this. So this is something called live action role playing, and actually it's not too different than what we do here at UUCCI. You know, that's right. All of us play different roles. Some of us like to cook, and some of us like to teach kids. Some of us like to make beautiful music. It's not as medieval, but we do some pretty wonderful things here. Tell me, what are some of the types of characters you might be in a live action role playing? Yes, Luca. A wizard. Okay, excellent. Yes. Oh, I love that. Very classical approach. Romeo and Juliet, star-crossed lovers. A knight. Ooh, very. Yes, Lewis. A gecko. I like that. That's a different archetype. Yes. A princess, of course. What are we fighting for? Anyone else? A what? Oh, a wonder. Oh, there's superheroes. Oh, you could be any number of things. Any other favorites? Taylor Swift. Watch out. Game over. So, yeah. A horse. Oh, excellent. You got to get around somehow. Yes. So all of these are different types of characters that we can play. And you know what's fun about live action role playing? Well, among hitting people with foam swords, you also get to pretend to be someone you might not be every day. You know, you get to try on, you could be more confident if you're being a knight, or you can practice being a team player if you're used to kind of being that one person in school who doesn't like to be on the group projects. Anyone? No? And so one of the things we're going to be talking about today is all the ways that we as a congregation are doing, in a way, live action role playing, and there's different characters we can all play. So whether you're a wizard, Wonder Woman, a gecko, or other kinds of things, hopefully we can start playing more together as a congregation and really figuring out where it is we're going and what obstacles are before us and how we might address those together in community. But I know you have a wonderful day of playing as you wrap up your month on Pokemon, because it's going to be quite the month that you're wrapping up now. So we're going to sing our children off to their classes, and maybe next month we'll do LARPing. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
I guess you could say that I've always been part of the counterculture. I was attracted to the civil rights struggle long before I had the autonomy to go to Selma and join in. I marched in DC a few times against the Vietnam War. I marched around the circle in Indy with 15 other people at the first LGBT demonstration in Indiana. Protests have always been a part of my role in our democracy. You know, good trouble. And so it continues in my push to make this world better for everyone. I used to carry a copy of the US Constitution in my car. It's aspirational, and that's how I think we improve our country. I have felt a camaraderie with those who have risked their safety for the beliefs in a world that includes everyone and the powerless. So it's no surprise that I should find myself here at the UU, an oasis in Indiana. We come here out of no coercion of baptism, no threat of hell to guide our behavior, no confessional for forgiveness of our sins, but an internal drive to make life in the world better for all. We choose this form of connection because we know we're more likely to make progress together with an army of people who care. If we recruit, it isn't to save souls, our own, but to join forces to do good. We come here to get out of the storm and chaos for a minute and regroup and recharge. This is my chosen community, radical in this broken world of consumerism, greed, power grabbing, and fear mongering. I find hope and love here every time. And this only exists because many people invest their precious time, energy, love, and money in our chosen community. UUCCI is what we make it. This became crystal clear to me during Rev Nic's sabbatical. We couldn't sit back and wait for Nic in all his creativity and enthusiasm to find the right people to do things. We all had to step forward and figure it out. Building vibrant community requires involvement. We all need to be finding ways we can radically move UUCCI forward in our mission to make the world fabulous. We come here looking for a sense of deep connectedness, which I have felt many times in my life. Working in groups for civil rights, at Cummins with my team, helping to find truth and justice for employees. At Team Rubicon, working with strangers to help other strangers affected by disasters. At the National Women's Music Festival, working with others to create a welcoming, safe, and uplifting space for women, especially lesbians. Here at UUCCI, serving on the board, in the kitchen, pulling weeds, the holiday market, the auction, hot meals, creating art and music in collaboration, you name it. The thing that makes the connection so powerful is that it involves working together to create or bring relief or justice. What will you do to transform UUCCI to a world you imagine?
We have two readings today. The first is excerpts from an article called How RPGs like D&D Help Us Make Friends by Joe LeConte. How do we make friends? Researchers have known for a while now that what three key building blocks are that allow us to make friends. 1, proximity. 2, repeated interactions. 3, a setting where we feel comfortable enough to let our guard down. If you consider what a standard in-person role-playing group looks like, you immediately can see how all three of those conditions are met. The people playing the game are in close proximity to one another. They're literally at the same table. Even if one or two people miss a session from time to time, there is still an expectation that some day of the week or month time will be put aside for D&D or whatever you're playing. That just leaves an environment where people can feel comfortable enough to let their guard down. Generally speaking, a table where people are playing an RPG is a pretty welcoming place. People are sharing a common story, building a world, using their imaginations, cooperating, collaborating, and hopefully having a good time. People get to share their ideas and characters that they've created and tell a story that they find fun and engaging. That type of expression necessitates a certain level of vulnerability. If people are new to the hobby, it may be tough to find a table to play at, but once people do find a supportive table, they still feel comfortable enough to let their guard down and share their creativity. At an RPG table, the group is not in competition with each other or the game master. They are all working together in order to tell the same story. RPG groups allow for us to contribute to a story and bring our creative ideas to life. If we, as players and GMs, take the time to acknowledge and appreciate the care and attention that other players bring to the table, then we are able to appreciate each other, not just for the value we bring to the game, but the value we bring to each other's lives.
Old Friends by Freya Manfred. Old friends are a steady spring rain, or a late summer sunshine edging into fall, or frosted leaves along a snowy path. A voice for all seasons saying, I know you. The older I grow, the more I fear I'll lose my old friends, as if too many years have scrolled by since the day we sprang forth seeking each other. Old friend, I knew you before we met. I saw you at the window of my soul. I heard you in the steady millstone of my heart, grinding grain for our daily bread. Your sedimentary, rock-solid cousin earth, where I stand firmly, astonished by your grace and truth, and gratitude comes to me and says, tell me anything and I will listen. Ask me anything and I will answer you.
This morning, I'm reminded of that classic coming of age joke or prank, or I'm not sure what you would call it, maybe a trick. Yes, a trick that most 3-year-olds or so come to learn. You know, the one that goes up high, to the side, down low, too slow. It's a good one. And many of you may have known it. Very classic, very classy. We come to the end of this month that we've been exploring some pretty big questions. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? And I want you to know that I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm not going to pull my hand away, say, psych. I'm not going to tell you, as our guiding song this month says and concludes, that, well, life is a mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. That would be quite the existential bummer at the end of the rainbow. No, we have 4 Sundays in August, and so we will not let our 3-question refrain leave us unfulfilled and disappointed, but instead we will approach the final necessary consideration that our opening song, Wo Ya Ya, today offered us. How will we get there? We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Friends, how we will get there has a simple answer and a more complicated answer. Let's start with the simple answer. How will we get there? We will get there together. Together, a word overused and underappreciated. It is a beautiful word at the heart of who we are as Unitarian Universalists. We value being together. We recognize the beauty in our diversity, pluralism, and co-creativity, together or to gather. We gather together in body, in spirit, in memory, and in hope. We sing these lyrics from the hymnal 67, number 67 and elsewhere. We gather together our song of thanksgiving. And in so doing, we name that we're not alone on this journey, but with other travelers who have gifts to share, and for that we could indeed give thanks. So we could extend a simple answer to the question, how will we get there? By saying we will get there together in community. It's in this community that we will get there together. The final verse of hymn 67 in our hymnal has these lyrics. We sing of community now in the making, in every far continent, region, and land, with those of all races, all times and names and places, we pledge ourselves in covenant firmly to stand. So that's a simple answer with a little lyrical support and flourish for good measure. But this is where it gets difficult. This is where it gets messy, even dangerous. Back to our opening song, Oh Yeah Yeah. And after those great encouraging words suggesting that even if we don't fully know where we are going or how we will get there, we do in fact have the knowledge and strength within us to find our way. The song then adds a caveat to our travels. We sang, it will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough. Excuse me, what? Hard, road, muddy, rough? Hey, I don't think so. I didn't sign up for this. True. None of us did in the existential sense sign up for this, but this leads us to the gifts we can only find in life and in community, and often only in a community of people where we have met by chance later in our lives. Some of you arrived to UUCCI in your 20s. Some came to raise children or are raising children now here. And some of us arrived in our 30s and 40s and 50s, all the way up to our 80s, perhaps later. We have joined this community of love and service, hope, and courage at different stages of our journeys, and we are invited to consider whether this is the party, the band of fellow travelers, that this is who we want to saddle up with for the next leg of the journey. Now, in our case, I'm not expecting us to all get on horses with our LARPing sticks and literally trot off through the wilderness of Bartholomew County. That would be a lot of horses. Nor is the party I refer to like in the sense of Halloween or the holiday party that we'll celebrate later this fall at UUCCI. Rather, I'm imagining something more along the lines of what it means to organize a party in Dungeons and Dragons. Yep, I'm going there. Hard pivot, sharp left turn, buckle up. Go with me on this. You see, as I mentioned earlier, or I didn't mention earlier, I meant to, I recently started playing a new Dungeons and Dragons game, or D&D for short, a few weeks ago with 4 other people, all of us having at least one connection in the group, but none of us being particularly long time or childhood friends. One thing we do share in common is that we all were interested in creating a party to go out wherever we needed to go and work together to overcome or defeat or accomplish whatever challenge we may confront. Our first reading shows that there may be a thing or two we can learn from the 1970s and 1980s phenomenon that sent conservatives running for the hills and fundamentalist Christians claiming Satanism would come for your child. It was only a matter of time. But D&D has regained popularity and mass appeal today in the 21st century, thanks to shows like Netflix's Stranger Things. And one of the first steps of playing this game is to develop your party and your characters. In D&D, the generic adventuring party consists of a cleric, a fighter, a rogue, and a wizard. A cleric a fighter, a rogue, and a wizard. Some of those were named earlier. These four types of characters complement one another. They have clear strengths and noticeable shortcomings, but are collectively stronger together than they would surely be in isolation. Let's try on this formation at UUCCI. Well, I guess you have a cleric at least. And perhaps many of you are fighters for justice like Sandra, or you might be a rogue of sorts, or you may have gone rogue religiously or politically compared to your family or members of your family of origin. And a wizard, well, I think we all have at least heard or read or seen Harry Potter. Okay, so perhaps there are limits to how we might apply the characters in Dungeons and Dragons to our party, but that we might assemble here. But the point remains, we all have gifts, special gifts, strengths, skills, and knowledge that can complement one another and enhance the party overall, and as a result, make our community more vibrant and vital. Perhaps you are right in thinking that clerics, well, fighters, rogues, and wizards aren't exactly the best metaphors for our community, although it would be fun if we all wore robes. Am I right? Thankfully, I think I have found some other characteristics that might resonate with you, and possibly one or two you'd be willing to try on yourself. These roles come from the work of Deepa Iyer, who is the Senior Director of Strategic Initiatives at the Building Movement Project. Particularly, it is from something she developed known as the Social Change Ecosystem Map. The Social Change Ecosystem Map articulates 10 unique character types or roles that exists in the work of movement building, community development, and the journey towards equity, liberation, justice, and solidarity. Sounds pretty cool, at least. In other words, she writes that the social change ecosystem map is a framework. It's just a way to see the work that can help individuals, networks, and organizations align with social change values, individual roles, and the broader ecosystem. Iyer uses an I statement for each character to help us think about whether the statement and the description resonates with us, that we feel connected to it. I'd expect that we may each feel connected to multiple character types, but most likely not one will fit 100% with every element that's in it. However, I do believe that all of us fall into at least one or maybe two of these types based on our dominant personality traits and orientations in life. I want to read each of these 10 descriptions, these I statements. And as I do so, I want you to consider if the role and description relates to you personally, and or how this type might be a critical character in our party, that is our community that we have gathered here together at UUCCI. So the 10 characteristics, this is hard to read and I apologize, but are weaver, experimenter, frontline responder, visionary, builder, caregiver, disruptor, healer, storyteller, and guide. And here are the I statements. Weavers. I see the through lines of connectivity between people, places, organizations, ideas, and movements. Experimenters. I innovate, pioneer, and invent. I take risks and course correct as needed. Frontline responders. I address community crises by marshaling and organizing resources, networks, and messages. Visionaries. I imagine and generate our boldest possibilities, hopes, and dreams, and remind us of our direction. Builders. I develop, organize, and implement ideas, practices, people, and resources in service of our collective vision. Caregivers. I nurture and nourish the people around me by creating and sustaining a community of care, joy, and connection. Disruptors. I take uncomfortable and risky actions to shake up the status quo, to raise awareness, and to build power. Healers. I recognize and tend to the generational and current traumas caused by oppressive systems, institutions, policies, and practices, Storytellers, I craft and share our community stories, cultures, experiences, histories, and possibilities through art, music, media, and movement. And guides, I teach, counsel, and advise using my gifts of well-earned discernment and wisdom. Okay, that's a lot. Let's go. What we're going to do is I'm going to put them each up. And this time that we go through, I'm not going to read them again. We're just going to get kind of like a show of hands. Does this resonate with you? Does this feel like you? And it's okay. There's no wrong answers. This is not a quiz. You can raise your hand as many times as you want. You can keep it up the whole time. There's no wrong answers here. Okay, so we're just trying to get a sense in the room who's here. So what about this weaver? I see the through lines of connectivity. Any weavers here? You can do a little look around if you need to. Okay, some weavers, good. What about experimenters? I innovate, pioneer, any innovators? Good. Okay, what about frontline responders? I address things and, oh, good, there's some good folks here, good. All right, next. And visionaries, I imagine and generate bold possibilities. Good. Excellent. See, we all got something to. Builders, I develop, organize, and implement ideas. Great. Good. Okay, there's good. Caregivers, I nurture and nourish people around me. Okay, cool, cool. What about disruptors? Who's a disruptor here? Oh, good. Don't raise your hand too high, Stephen. Jeez. Okay, and then healers. I recognize and tend to the generational. Thank you. Good. That's a good one. Okay, storytellers. I craft and share our community stories. Excellent. Okay, okay. We had some singing earlier, different art forms. Good. And then guides. I teach and counsel and advise using my gifts. Good. Any? Yeah. Okay. Wow. Well, that was really insightful, as I imagined, because I wrote it in my script that it was going to be very insightful, and it was. Maybe you learned something about yourself or about someone else in the congregation. It's good to be sitting in the back so you can really see everything. But I love when people sit in the front. Thank you. It's a choir, but wait, there's more. Here is where it gets really interesting. If you take these 10 roles, and guess what? You take these 10 roles and you lay them on top of our 5 areas of ministry at UUCCI, you will see some natural alignment among them, 2 on each. Some of you may have seen this graphic I created recently about our shared ministry. It's a little hard to read, but I'll go through it. And some of this might be the first time, but gratefully it won't be the last time we see it. These are the 5 areas, almost like tools for us as we embody our mission and fulfill our goals as intrepid party of religious liberals out here on the frontier of Southern Indiana. Lifelong learning, Sunday services, courageous action, connection and care, administration. I also created a little description for each of these 5 areas that I think help us to see them. And you'll notice there's kind of 2 for each of the 5. So here we go. So for lifelong learning, we might say to someone in an elevator or elsewhere, we are lifelong learners who encourage one another to continue to learn and grow throughout life, recognizing that our learning shapes our actions, which then guides our learning in an iterative, transformative process. So for this area of ministry, I think some of the roles that are needed, that are most needed and useful, are those who might see themselves as guides and experimenters. The second area is courageous action. We might describe it this way. We are courageous, loving people. Our loving and learning does not happen in a vacuum, but in this imperfect world where we strive for collective justice and liberation with compassionate love and courageous action as our tools. For courageous action, I think the disruptor and healer roles might nicely fit there. 3, At the intersection of those overlapping part of lifelong learning and courageous action, we have our Sunday services, which blends both into an important regular collective practice of coming together as a community. We could say we gather on Sundays, the heartbeat of our lives together to help us grow intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually in order to act with integrity and courage in the world. For this one, I believe what happens in our Sunday services aligns most, but not only, with the characteristics of visionaries and storytellers. Fourth, connection and care. Connection and care, which is the important area of ministry that helps us to support those ministries already named above. A commitment to connection and care is what inspires the need for an annual connection fair. For this category, we could say with confidence, we are all in this together. Through connection and care, we are able to hold and be held by a diverse religious community of loving, justice-seeking people. Connection and care could embody many roles, like all of these categories, but the two that feel most appropriate, to me at least, are the weavers and the caregivers. Finally, administration, the sturdy base for any vital congregation, is made up of critical volunteers. I've summarized administration this way. We know the foundation matters. Transformational ministry begins with a solid operational and administrative foundation. Our building and grounds, use of technology, and excellence in communication are not auxiliary, but central to our shared ministry. And administration can sometimes get sort of a short shrift, but as the son of an architect and home builder, I imagine all that is above the foundation is only as secure as the cornerstone laid by those committed people. So for the final areas, we have the roles of builders and frontline responders. Okay, this has been a lot, but I hope you see how our ministry, our method says something deep and true about our community. We will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will together. So whether you are a weaver or a healer, a storyteller or a guide, a builder or a disruptor, an experimenter or a caregiver, or a visionary or a frontline responder, or heck, even if you're a cleric, a fighter, a rogue, or a wizard, you are welcome here, and we need you for what lies ahead. What a gift it is to be a part of such a diverse party that asks regularly these humble questions of where do we come from, what are we, and where are we going? For in so doing, we are able to return to our North Star, our chalice flame, and begin again on this journey of friends through this precious life we share. Along our journey this year and for years to come, I believe you will come to be old friends. What a thought. In this fleeting life, to have something precious that we have come to love and behold. And whether the years before us are few or seemingly endless, I hope we can cherish one another and fight for one another and love the hell out of this world and be the change we wish to see and embody our mission and be held by our values and move with grace and gratitude toward the day that is rising before us. New friends and old friends, will you join me on that journey? May it be so, and amen.